Hey, what's up everyone? Tim here from Everyday Tactical Vids. Today we're looking at this, which is the Luminoodle Plus. Now you may be familiar with the Luminoodle. It's a string of LED lights that you can set up at home, next to your car, out at base camp, out in the woods, whatever you're doing. This one is a little bit different because it comes with your power source included. So you don't need to have a separate power source. You get the Luminoodle Plus and then you're actually going to get the power source and the lights. Now you can get the Plus, which is 5 feet long, or you can get the Plus XL, which is 10 feet of lights and then your power source included as well. So I want to roll in some photos here of really the 4 different options. You have the Luminoodle, which is just your strip of lights in either 5 or 10 feet. The Luminoodle Plus, 5 or 10 feet of your lights plus your power source. There's also the Luminoodle Base Camp, which is the longest, and that's got to be plugged into a wall or a car charger. And then the last one is the Luminoodle Color, which gives you a variety of color options for the output of your LEDs. I'm interested in checking out this one, and then also maybe in the future we'll consider checking out the Color, just because I'm thinking about, at night, if you had it out in the woods set up with the red light on, you'd be saving your night vision. You could still get around camp, but you're saving your vision if you do have to head off into the woods or trying to see, in the dark. Anyhow, so those are the 4 options. Now let's take a look at the Luminoodle Plus. When you take it out of the packaging, here's what you get. It's a little bag with a drawstring on it. Keeps everything nice and under control for you. Open this up. First thing we'll take out is your power source. It has 3 different settings, so you can see, let me just bring that up a little bit closer. You can see it's got the battery, it's got the off setting, and then the light. So when you put it on the battery setting, it's going to be putting power out, and you can see all 4 of those lights are lit up now. That means that it's fully charged. I turn it to off and nothing, and then when I turn it to the light, it actually works as a light. So, I can look around, get around camp a little bit, whatever it is with that. Next up, we have these 3 little pieces of gear, and this is how you attach the Luminoodle to whatever you're attaching it to. So basically, you're going to run the Luminoodle through, and then you can pull this through like so. So you got a loop there. So you could certainly run the Luminoodle through this, which is designed for, or if you wanted to, if for some reason you needed a bigger loop, you could run it through there, and then, set it up at the different options. Here's what it looks like when you run the top section of the Luminoodle through that loop, and then obviously you can hook this up onto anything you want to attach it to. Last thing we have here is the actual Luminoodle. You can see it does come on this spool, and I have taken it off and then put it back together or put it back on, and it does work. Sometimes you get something packaged so tightly and so perfectly that when you actually try to reattach it or rewind it up at the end, it just doesn't work. This definitely does work. So as you roll it out, you can see just kind of this rubberized coating on it, and if you look closely, get this to stop swinging all over the place, you can see there's like a little bump right there. So that's the actual LED. So I'm going to show you what it looks like on here inside, and then we'll take it out into the dark and show you what it looks like in use. Here's the Luminoodle a little bit rolled out, and I'm going to flick this power source to the battery line, and you can see that it actually comes on. So in total, they're saying 180 lumens of output from your Luminoodle. I do want to note that this is on that battery section. If I do turn it to the light section, that light is on, and this light is on as well. And I'm assuming that that's going to drain this much more quickly because you're using the power in multiple places. But that's what it actually looks like. Let me show you one more thing that's pretty cool before we actually head out into the darkness. Here's the other cool thing. Plug it into the power source, turn it on, put it in the bag, and now you've got a lantern. I made sure to actually untwist this from that spool just because some of the LEDs are a little covered up. So you can hang this in camp, and the way it's currently on, it doesn't have the power source light on as well. So it doesn't have the maximum output it could. Right now this is just the LEDs on the Luminoodle. So let me actually put the power source of the light on, see if there's a big difference between this and then even that. So to me, it's not a huge difference between having the power source light on and the power source light off. So I would actually keep it off because then I can actually save that and it'll run the actual Luminoodle longer. So anyhow, this is the lantern setup. Now let's actually head out into the dark and set up the Luminoodle. All right, so first test, I basically just strung it up quickly between 2 trees, and I'll zoom in to show you what the actual hooking up to the trees looks like, but it's not, the line's not taut, it's not set up on anything special. I just threw this up really quickly to see, how quickly could I get it up and what does it look like. So I'm going to stand over by the Luminoodle now, which is probably about 8 or 10 feet away from the actual camera, and we'll show you what it looks like with me over there. It took me probably 30 seconds or less to get the Luminoodle Plus set up, and from where I'm standing right now, I can easily see 20 to 25 feet out from every direction from where I'm standing right here. Here's a look at it from a little distance, and just to show you what I did over here is I just threw this little loop that comes with the Luminoodle just over this little branch of a maple tree. And then over here, because that branch was up higher, I used 2 of the attachments and I put them together, put the Luminoodle through down into here, and there's the power source. Here's a quick look at it set up vertically, and very quickly I can tell you that it's going to limit the amount of light you're going to get. So I can still see, you know, decently out in one direction from the light, but certainly behind the light, it's very dark. So having them strung up, you know, horizontally between a couple branches is definitely going to be a better setup if you want more light in your camp area, you know, around your campsite, your bushcraft site, whatever it might be. Here's a look at the Luminoodle Plus strung horizontally. Again, this is a 5-foot string of lights and just much more taut. It's not kind of just flopping there. So I'm going to stand under it and give you a sense of what it looks like on camera. I will tell you that already I can see the area right underneath is just a lot more lit up. Now there is snow, and we're going to try it without snow in a moment, just because the snow is obviously going to reflect the light. But it does definitely give me light much more down, right underneath as opposed to out, which makes sense. That's where the light is shining. I'm not sure if the light and the camera are catching it, but there's actually some snow falling here late night in New Hampshire. And yeah, underneath here I could definitely operate quite easily if this was, you know, my base camp and I had to do some things around camp. This is giving me good light to operate. Certainly the closer I get, the better it is for me. But, you know, down on the ground 6 feet from where my you know, from where my head is, I could see. And, you know, even if I drop something, I think this light would be good enough for me to get around and actually find something that maybe I dropped or lost around camp. And here's a quick look at the snow, giving off a lot of light. If I was using this in a winter camping situation, this would be really helpful around camp. There's a look at the Luminoodle Plus setup. I'm about 60 feet away, and that is an area over there with no snow on the ground. So you're getting a sense at this distance. I can definitely see, you know, the campsite area if that's where my campsite was set up. Let's get up close now and check it out. Here's a look up close. We're about 15 feet away, and even without that snow reflecting the light back up, still quite easy to see the ground and everything happening underneath the Luminoodle Plus. Let me go stand over there so you can see what I look like. Here I am over here, and even without that light being reflected off the snow, because there is none here, I can still see quite easily. Because the light is angled out toward the camera, I can probably see, you know, 35 or 40 feet out there quite easily. Not as well back here. Back behind me, it's probably, you know, 8 to 10 feet. But that gives you the option to set it up and direct it where you want it to be directed, depending on where you need the light. What we're looking at now on the right side of the screen is the Luminoodle Plus, and on the left side of the screen is the Luminoodle Plus XL. So you got 5 feet on the right and then 10 feet on the left. Difference in lighting, honestly, not a huge amount. I mean, definitely the XL is going to give you, you know, more length on that, on the actual Luminoodle to set it up however you want, and you can angle some of the lights one direction, some of the lights another direction. So just more versatility with that. But I don't look at the XL and think, wow, that thing is just giving a blinding amount of light compared to the regular size. And now I'll go stand over there just so you can see me kind of in the presence of both those things. But between both of those, man, you string that up around your camp, coming off your tent, whatever it is, and that's a nice setup for light around your campsite. All right, so let's wrap up here talking about the Luminoodle Plus. Again, the Plus gives you your power source with the Luminoodle, so that's definitely an advantage. You don't have to think about bringing something extra. If you ever already have a power source kicking around, great. But if you don't, you know, you do get the whole system all in one. You can get it in 5 feet, you get it in 10 feet. There are other options from Luminoodle that I mentioned at the beginning of this video. I will say it's very lightweight. It doesn't feel like you're carrying a ton of extra weight. And if you want to, again, ball it up and put it inside your tent, hang it at night or in your shelter, let's say, because you wanted a lot of light inside the shelter, you can set up that lantern option as well. So yeah, these are really cool. You know, it's kind of like, you look at it, you're like, oh, it's like Christmas lights. Yeah, but bringing Christmas lights out into the woods doesn't work, because where are you going to plug them in? So this gives you the option to do that, lightweight, and gives off a good amount of light. Between these two, definitely feel like I could set these up around camp, even if my fire was totally out, and I could get around camp at night. Another cool thing is that if you wanted to, you could certainly, you know, use this to let somebody know. Say maybe somebody's hiking in at night to meet you and they don't know where your camp is. Well, you know, using this will definitely give off a good amount of light for them to come find you Last reminder is just that the power source can be used as a light as well, as far as like a flashlight, because it has those bright lights coming off of it. So yeah, the Luminoodle Plus XL. Check them out. I'll put links down below. If you're interested, go ahead and purchase them using those links, and you'll help support the Everyday Tactical Vids channel. I want to give a shout out to Power Practical for helping make this video possible. And if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to Everyday Tactical Vids here on YouTube. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, check us out on Instagram and Tumblr as well. Take care.